All right, what about the offensive side of the ball? Tommy Rees is going to be leaving Marcus Freeman's staff at Notre Dame, and he will be taking over the Alabama offense. Before we look to the Notre Dame side of this, what is a Tommy Rees offense?
It's not what you saw in 2022.
Well, we have quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Multiple quarterbacks that potentially are going to change exactly what the offense is going to look like.
I mean, it's modern pro stylish, really. I think is the best way to. A lot of RPO kind of stuff when he's able to do what he wants to do. There's a lot of RPO stuff in there, and it's still kind of built on the run game, but just it's not that different from what Alabama has been doing the last few years. Honestly, it's just last year in South Bend, because of the quarterback situation and the receiver situation, which we've gone over a billion times, they weren't really able to do any of it. Like Tommy Rees was calling plays with one arm tied behind his back, and it just was very easy for other teams to defend. And I think at Alabama, he's probably going to have better pieces around him this year, and we'll see. I mean, I don't think it's a bad hire. Like when Rees first got the hire at Notre Dame, I was on here all the time saying the one thing that stands out about me to Rees, because I don't know jack shit about calling a game during a game, but the one thing I do know is if an offensive coordinator makes a play call where I'm just like, what the hell are you doing? Like if I understand it didn't make sense, that to me is a red flag. When I would watch Notre Dame games, Tommy Rees rarely made those kind of play calls where it's like, why are you running this to the short side? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing, in these kind of situations? It all made sense. It might not have always worked, but it always made sense. So as far as that aspect goes, I think it's a good hire. I think he's going to have a talented team, and I think, it's probably going to work out pretty well. It's worked out. It's worked out for every offensive coordinator at Alabama for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, like your odds of having success at Alabama as the OC are really, really high. I think there's just degrees of the success, right? Like, I don't think we were in love with how Bill O'Brien called it. Part of that was probably some of their personnel stuff. I think if we're going to talk about that with the lack of receivers Bama had this year, we should probably also discuss, like, look, Notre Dame's receivers didn't exactly scare anybody. Now, should they have gone more RPO heavy? Maybe, possibly. But like that, a way to to combat that is we're playing a lot of man, which I think teams got a lot of those looks against the Irish because they weren't really scared of what Notre Dame had out wide. And then you also had a quarterback injury very early in the year. So I want to take like the inputs of the market here. So Brian Kelly, who we consider to be a very good head coach, and Nick Saban, who we consider to be the best head coach of all time, have now both pursued this guy. Mm-hmm. Now, he wasn't Saban's first choice, obviously, but I think that does tell me something. Like, he wanted Tommy Rees to come with him to LSU, Brian Kelly did. And obviously Saban has now hired him. So he has to think highly of him. They must like what he does schematically. And, we'll see. Like, does Notre Dame's offense improve with a different play caller there? How does Alabama look? I'm not going to bash the hire. I didn't necessarily love what they did at Notre Dame, but I think personnel probably had something to do with that. We've talked to different coaches who played Notre Dame this year that basically said their receivers sucked and they didn't scare us at all. And we played them in a disrespectful manner because of that.
It's Bud Elliott at Bud Elliott 3 on Twitter. I understand that he already has his own column for all the Notre Dame fans out there and the threads that continue to point his direction for all Notre Dame wide receiver analysis. Go ahead.
Can we talk about the spicy part of this though?
The Brian Kelly side of this, or the Marcus Freeman side of this?
Well, I mean, Brian Kelly tried to get Rees, from our understanding, to follow him to LSU to be his offensive coordinator last year. Rees stuck around at South Bend, and then a year later, Rees is leaving Notre Dame to go join Brian Kelly's top rival in the SEC West. That's got to be awkward.
I don't think it's awkward because Alabama and Nick Saban is one of those, like, well, of course you're going to go and coach on the same staff in the same position that has launched Lane Kiffin into a head coaching position, that has launched Steve Sarkisian into a head coaching position. Like, there is a Tommy Rees career aspect of this that's like, I go there and I'm successful, then there are going to be head coaching opportunities for me. And if that's something that he wants to do, then this is a great, honestly, it's a better spot for him to be able to take that next step than it would be to try to hang around in his current post at Notre Dame.
there's no reason why you would stay at Notre Dame as opposed to going to Alabama. Like the personnel quality is just better, and the track record of guys moving up, like even Bill O'Brien moved up. He's the OC of the Patriots now. That's a better job than being OC at Alabama. So you take it, you get a big job off it, especially on the offensive side. On the defensive side, those guys haven't really all worked out. But I mean, Loxley went to Maryland. Kiffin went to Ole Miss. I mean, like the guys who have been OCs for Nick, I think they probably improved their understanding of defense as well, because Nick's such a defensive genius. And I think it probably helps them become better head coaches because of it. So this is Rees's ticket to get a head coaching job.
Ty Simpson, starting quarterback, probably. If we're to try to sort of read the room, consider who the OC is, and consider what we've got there with Simpson and Milroe kind of as the two that are running for first team snaps here in spring ball.
I don't know. I think Tommy's going to be looking for somebody who can throw the ball further than 10 yards down the field. That's for sure.
I will say, I don't think it'll be Sam Hartman, who posted a workout video with Notre Dame's logo on it. So for all the thought of like, can Hartman follow Tommy Rees to Alabama? I don't think that's going to happen. I know the chat hasn't even suggested it. It was just my initial thought. I know Danny Cannell.
Yeah, Danny texted it. He was like, can Hartman go too?
Yeah.
Which I think actually you could technically, if the first transfer used was a non-grad transfer, then you still have the grad transfer in the chamber, right?
I mean, I don't even know if he's enrolled, right? I mean, if he's just floating out there, not enrolled somewhere, he could go and enroll somewhere else, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, he has not enrolled. If he has not enrolled in school, and if he has not played a snap, then I think a lot of these transfer hurdles, we can just slide out one for another and still get your one-time transfer waiver taken care of. But yeah, Hartman's going to stay at Notre Dame. I mean, it's a very different, like, okay, you're at Wake Forest, right? You're going to go to Notre Dame. In terms of just overall, like, campus, university, like, sure, we're going from Baptist to Catholic, but we're still going to, the still smaller private school kind of approach. It's a good fit for him, right?
I think so. Yeah. Also, like on Rees, in his mind, he always has to be the guy that lost out to Freeman for the head coaching gig. Now, I think Freeman was much more proven than he was as a coordinator. So Notre Dame made the right choice if the choice was to pick between those two. And I don't necessarily think it was much of a choice, but it still has to be weird, like work with the guy who got the promotion over you. You know what I'm saying? So I actually think this can be a positive for the Irish as well.